Hey everyone, welcome back. I am so happy you guys are here. For this video, I have some really neutral fall DIYs to share with you guys. I'm going to keep it short and simple and sweet, and we're just going to jump right to it. For the first project, I'm going to be using this sign that is from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start by removing the little hanger that's on there, but I am going to keep it safe because I will be using it later on. Next, I am taking this 2020 calendar and I'm going to the October page. Has a cute little pumpkin on there. That is the page I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to start by taking some Mod Podge and a foam brush. I'm going to give the back of that sign a really good coat of the Mod Podge. I figured I would just leave the other side alone. You can kind of use it as double-sided decor if you wanted to. But yeah, after I was done coating the backside with the Mod Podge, I'm just placing that calendar page right there in the middle, and then I'm going to use my Cricut scraping tool, scrape out all the bubbles and the ripples, make sure everything is nice and smooth. And then I just took a piece of sandpaper just to kind of distress this and give it more character. Totally, not necessary if you don't want to do that look or whatever. I just personally liked it. After that, I'm taking some of these flat bamboo sticks and I'm going to be making my marks to kind of frame this little sign. So 2 are going to be a little bit longer and 2 will be a little bit shorter because 2 are going on the outer edges and then 2 are going in the middle of those 2 pieces. So I just made my cuts. I made my measurements and then I'm taking a razor blade to make those cuts using my self-healing mat. You just make a couple of cuts, like good thick cuts, and then you can just pry the pieces back and forth till the side pops off that you don't need. So then I just took some sandpaper and kind of sanded down the edges that I made my cuts at because they kind of had like little splintery edges and you don't want that. So I just smoothed out any rough edges that they had. And then I'm taking my white Waverly chalk paint and giving each of those pieces 2 really good coats of paint. I just wanted them to be solid white when I was done with them. After that, I'm just going to be gluing these little wood pieces into place to frame the little pumpkin sign. So I'm going to be using wood glue and hot glue. And I'm just starting at one of the edges and making my way all the way around till they all fit into place. Next, I am taking that hanger that was originally on there. I'm popping some holes from back to front just because the holes you can see in the back there so you know where the holes are. And then I'm going to be making it go from front to back. So I put one end in of the hanger and then I'm using these raw wooden beads to kind of add some character to this hanger. I mean, it's still cute by itself, but I thought the wooden beads would just really, bring it to life and give it a little bit more character that I was looking for. So I just strung those beads on and that was all there was to this one. So cute and simple, quick, easy. I love it. I love the neutral, white pumpkin. I think it is absolutely adorable. So you guys will have to let me know what you think of it down below. Alright, for the next project, I'm going to be using this wood pumpkin cutout. It's from Dollar Tree as well. They come in a pack of 5 or 6, I think. So I just started by taking one of them and using my white Waverly chalk paint. I gave it 2 really good coats of paint on the front and the back. I wanted each side to be covered with the paint. Then I'm taking my antique Waverly wax and I'm kind of just going around the edges and giving this a more antique distressed look until I was happy with it. And then I'm going to be using those raw wooden beads again with some jute that is from Dollar Tree. And then I'm just stringing these beads on. I did a big bead and then a smaller bead, big bead, smaller bead, big bead, smaller bead, and so forth until I was happy with the length. And once I got it to that length, I just took the pumpkin and strung that on to the end of the garland, and then I'm just going to tie a little knot to tie the beads to the pumpkin so that way nothing falls off. And after that, I'm going to be working on the other end, so I'm going to make a little tassel using that jute string. So I'm taking a piece of cardboard, just kind of cutting it to the length of the pumpkin so that way the tassel kind of matches the length, the size of the pumpkin. And then I'm just leaving it attached. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought the tassel just would be so much easier if I could just leave it connected to the garland. Doesn't really work out, but it's okay. I make it work here in the end. So I'm just taking the jute string and I tied it around about 50 times just until the tassel was looking like the thickness that I was like envisioning in my mind. So I pulled it off the little cardboard box thing, or cardboard piece. Sorry. And then I'm just taking an extra piece of the jute and just tying it around the head of the tassel. You just kind of want to make a head, that way when you cut your little loops like I'm doing here, it actually has that tassel look. That's what makes the tassels tassels. So here I'm cutting it away from the garland now because, like I said, it just didn't work. It wasn't as close as I thought it was going to be. So I just cut it apart, and then I'm stringing that extra piece of the tassel that's at the end of the garland through the head of the tassel, and then I'm just going to tie it off right there as close to the base as possible. And there you have it. That was all there was to this one. So quick and simple and easy as well. I left the pumpkin plain. I left the beads plain as well. I know that might not be everybody's look or thing. You can, add some wording onto the pumpkin, or you can paint the beads whatever color you'd like. I just wanted to keep this one nice and simple for you guys. For this next project, I'm going to be making a really cute wreath for you guys. I'm going to start by using this Gather like wooden sign from Dollar Tree. I started by just cutting the hanger off of the back, and then I'm taking this cashew color from Waverly, and I'm just kind of going over it here and there, kind of like a whitewash look. I didn't cover every square inch, and I just covered the front as much as I was liking, and then I did around the outsides and like the insides of the letters as well. Here is what it looked like when it was all done. You can still see that, has some of the natural color popping through. After that, I am taking the brown antique Waverly wax, and I'm just going over like the outer edges of each of the letters. I just really thought that it would make each of the letters pop a little bit more, just to add some like character and distressing and antiqueness to them. So I just did that until I was happy with the look. And here is how that turned out. You can see it's just kind of around the edges of each of the letters. Next, I'm using this wreath. It is from Walmart. It was only like $4 or $5, so pretty good value. It's nice and thick, and it's a really good size. Then I'm going to be taking this beading wire, and I'm just cutting a few strands to tie the gather sign to the wreath, just to keep it into place a little bit more, just to make it a little bit sturdy. And once I do have the wire pieces on, I am going to be taking some hot glue and just really reinforcing that gather sign onto the wreath. I'm just going to glue right under it to where I added those strands of the beading wire, just to make sure that the gather sign does not fall off the wreath. After that, I'm taking these solo wood flowers, and I'm just going to be picking out the solid white ones or like cream colored ones. I just thought they went better with the wreath rather than the brown and white ones, and I'll save those later and I can dye them or whatever I want to do with those. But I'm just playing around with some floral options. We have some celosia, some eucalyptus, some roses, some like maple leaves. I'm just gluing them here and there, kind of just until I was happy with the look. Then I'm taking some pumpkins from Dollar Tree, and I'm gluing those on as well, just to add to that like fall vibe. And I know some of the pumpkins look yellow, like the smaller ones. They're kind of like a really yellowish color. I do end up painting those in the end, because after looking at them, I was like, they are not going with the vibe. So I do paint them in the cashew color. Once I had my flowers and pumpkins into place, I am going to be adding some bows onto this wreath. I just feel like it really adds to the character and, the look of this wreath that I was going for. So the beige bow is from the 99-cent only store, and then this white striped ribbon that I'm making a bow out of is from Walmart. So once I had my bows done, I'm just gluing them in between the two flower sections that I had made, and then my last little part was to just clean up the ends and then add some little dovetail accents to them. Here is how it turned out. So cute. It's so beautiful. I love it. You can see that I changed the yellowish colored pumpkins. They blend in a lot better now. They go with the whole vibe, but I just really love how like simple and just very neutral this is, and it still has just a very like beautiful, pretty look to it, but with fall vibes as well. So Definitely let me know what you guys think of this one down below. For the fourth project, I'm going to be using this yard pick from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start by bending the pick back and forth until it pops off of that pumpkin, and it was fairly easy. It didn't really take that much effort at all. Next, I'm just removing that raffia bow as well, and then I'm taking that cashew color and just going over the pumpkin. I don't cover it completely, but I do want to cover up that yellow. The yellow just does not work with me at all. I don't really care for it that much. So definitely wanted to cover that. Then I'm just taking some antique Waverly wax again and just kind of going into the grooves. I think this pumpkin has a really cool texture and pattern, so the antique wax just fits so nicely in there and just really gives it some really good character. Next, I'm taking these galvanized letters from Dollar Tree, and I picked out the letters to spell fall, and then I'm using my ink Waverly chalk paint to give those letters two really good coats of the paint, just so it's nice and matte black, no metal showing through. And then I took my drill and kind of a smaller drill bit, and I'm drilling 2 holes near the top of the pumpkin, one on each side. And then I'm taking my jute twine and I'm going to be stringing that through the left side of the pumpkin and then tying a knot in the back. And then I'm going to kind of measure it, probably a little bit more than I need just to make sure I have enough string. I'm going to make that cut so that way I can string these wooden beads on there. I did 2 smaller beads and then 1 larger bead. It was just, I don't know, a look I guess I was going for. Then after that, I am going to be making the holes onto the metal letters. I'm just doing it right at the top of the metal letters. That way they fall into place and they don't look like they're tilted or crooked or anything like that. And then I'm just going to be stringing each of the letters onto the strand. I am going to be putting 1 bead between each of the letters. That was just personal preference. I thought it looked really cute. And just to separate, each of the letters, give them a little bit more space. So I just did that until I got to the last letter. And then after that, I'm just going to be doing the same kind of design that I did on the left side. So 1 large bead and then 2 smaller beads. Once that was done, I'm going to string it through the other hole on the other side of the pumpkin, and then I'm just tying it off on the back, just kind of measuring where, how low I want it to hang, and I just kind of held it in place while I could make that knot, so that way it didn't move. Once it was finished though, I was like, okay, well, everything's kind of blending in too much together, like the beads were the same color as the pumpkin, and I didn't really care for that. So I just took my white Waverly chalk paint and I just went over the pumpkin again and the leaves and whatnot, just moving the little garland strand out of place so I didn't paint over that. But I just felt like this would bring more contrast to the pumpkin so it didn't look like everything was the same color basically. So after that, I am taking this leftover picture frame stand and I'm just cutting it to the length that I need it to be. It was just a little bit too long for the back of the pumpkin, and I'm just going to glue it into the back so that way this pumpkin can be a standing pumpkin, rather than being hung on the wall or anything like that. I do glue a Jenga block on the back just because the pumpkin kind of dips in. I just felt this would be better just to give it a nice flat surface to be glued onto. And then my last little step was just to make a simple bow to go at the top of this pumpkin. So I just took some leftover ribbon and just made a really, easy, simple bow. And once I was done with that, I just needed to glue it into place. And that was it for this one. Here is how it turned out. I love it. I think it is really pretty. I just love the neutral look. I probably could have added a little bit more antique wax, I guess, but I do like how some of the leftover cashew color is coming through. And then I am just obsessed with the little fall garland on it. It's a must. I love, love, love it. But anyway, we are on to our last little project. So for this one, I'm going to be using this high cloche dome that's from Dollar Tree and this candle holder from Dollar Tree as well. And I'm just going to be taking some E6000 and hot glue, and I'm going to be gluing the base of the cloche onto the candle holder. And I'm just going to give that adequate time to, set into place. And once the E6000 has time to set, I'm going to be taking the spray paints in one in the color Driftwood. That is the color I am using now. And later on, I will be using this textured stone spray paint, which is really, really cool, you guys. It's a must try for sure. So while the first coat of paint is drying, I am going to be taking these pumpkins from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start painting a couple of them. I do take off the little stems so that way so that way it is easier to paint. And then I'm taking some skewers and, you know, skewering, whoa, that's a funny word, skewering them. So that way it's easier to paint as well. And I did paint most of these off camera for you guys because it is pretty self-explanatory, pretty basic. So I did do, you know, some celery and some cashew and some white Waverly chalk paint. And then I just glued the little stems back into place, and that was all there was to those pumpkins. And then next I am taking that textured stone spray and going over the little candle holder thing that I made, and it is really, really cool. Look how neat it is, you guys. And you just, a little bit goes a long way, so just very lightly spray it. And shout out to Sarah Jane from Chic on the Cheap. I did get this idea from her. I think she used a little bit like more of a beige color for her base. I just couldn't find that in the store. It was all out. So I did go with the driftwood, and honestly, loving it. I can't wait to do this technique to other things. Almost like everything in my house. I really am eager to see how good it looks on just about anything right now. All right, moving on. So once I had time to dry, I'm just taking my pumpkins that I painted, and I'm using these mini little hay bales from Hobby Lobby and just kind of playing around with them. I'm just kind of making sure, you know, I just want to make sure that they're going to fit inside of the dome. So I'm just kind of like playing around with them and then seeing how I need to tilt or move them into place to make sure that the dome is going to be fitting on the top. So once I kind of have like a game plan in mind, I'm just going to glue everything down into place. So once I had it as high as I could go, I just added the dome on top, and voila, it is done. Look how cute, simple, quick, easy, all that jazz. And I absolutely love the way that this one turned out. I'm telling you, that textured stone spray, I love it. I can't even express how much I love it. You guys should definitely try it. And just look how cute it is with the pumpkins. I just really love the neutral fall vibes that it's given off. All right, guys. Well, that is all that I have for you. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Hopefully you guys are already subscribed to my channel. If not, I would love for you to be a part of the Dying to DIY fam. So hopefully that is something you are interested in. But anyways, I hope these fall neutral DIYs inspired you enough to be able to recreate them for yourself, you know, your home decor, or maybe you're going to go for like a more traditional look. Definitely switch up the colors if it's not your type of color scheme. I have already done like traditional and kind of a more like romantic fall scheme, and more like a modern glam. So I did want to bring you guys a neutral type of look. So that was the whole vibe that I was trying to give off with these DIYs. But again, feel free to switch up all the colors to fit your home decor. So I am thinking that I'm going to be starting my Halloween DIYs for you guys. Is that something you are interested in? Should I keep doing some more fall DIYs? Do you want to see everyday home decor? Or is there a certain style that you would like to see? Please, please, please let me know down below. Also, I just want to know what your plans are for this weekend or this week. What do you guys have got going on? I would love to hear about it down below in my comment section. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.